Welcome everyone to today's episode. I'm so excited for this one especially. We have Dr. Nimarta Kaur joining us, who recently got accepted to the University of Pennsylvania into the International DDS program, and it is one of the most competitive programs in the US. She's here to share her story, the ups, downs, the strategy behind her successful CAPID and UPenn application. So, Dr. Nimarta, first off, congratulations. How does it feel
Thank
to
you.
say you're part of the UPenn DDS class family already?
Amazing. I don't think I've stopped smiling ever since, I'll be very honest with you. Very excited, very grateful. This was my first application cycle. And honestly, fortunate, lucky, and just happy to have gotten in my first cycle. Um, and a little backstory. So I'm an internationally trained dentist from India. And I graduated in 2020 and I worked in India for about 2 years as an associate dentist before I moved to Canada. And then I worked there for about 2.5 years, and that's when I decided to apply for CAPIT. Yeah.
Okay, so what led you to dentistry in the US?
Okay, so when I worked as an associate dentist in India, I know it sounds crazy because an opportunity like this is hard to find, but actually got a job with a dentist who was a graduate from UCSF. So he had done his DDS from the US, and I applied for the job and I got the job and I was like, no, I want this job. And I think it was when I started to work with him is when I actually, had that first dream of being like, no, I want to be a dentist like this. And so I think that was my inception that I was like, I want to go to school and I want to go to school in the US. It just so happened that I got married and then life happened and then I moved to Canada. But I think going back to school and specifically going back to school in the US was always my dream. However, I will add that because I was in Canada, you talk to people. And when you talk to people, I think everybody was like, why don't you give the license exams? Why do you want to spend so much money? Why do you want to like all of that? And so I think it's not a bad idea to keep all your options open.
Yeah.
Wherever life takes you, I think just go for it. I think dentistry is becoming so competitive in North America in general that I would suggest, a lot of my friends, so they wrote AFK and then they wrote ADAT and then they wrote INBD. So like everybody's keeping all their options open, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm sorry, I'm still learning how to use these.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
We're able to hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was the start for me, though. When I started to work with a dentist who was a graduate from a US dental school, I
Mhm.
think for me, that particular point was the beginning of wanting to do it myself as well.
Okay, so you did give a couple of exams from in Canada as well, and the US exams.
No, so I
Okay.
prepared for AFK. That's how I
Okay, okay.
started
Okay.
because I've heard that AFK is one of the toughest exams. So I was like, okay, no, I have to like, I went off social media for 6 months and I'm like, I'm studying and that's all I'm doing. It just so happened that in Canada, there's like a whole verification that you need before
Mm-hmm.
sitting for the exam.
Okay.
And my verification took longer than expected. So I think
Okay.
it was just destined, honestly. I did not even sit
Yeah.
for that exam. I did prepare for it, but I did not sit for it. So yeah.
Okay. That's really good to know, and thank you for sharing your background for us so we all are able to understand. So when did the UPenn dental school become like the first school that you wanted to get into from
Okay,
all the
so
other options?
again, yeah, I would say for me it was one of the top three choices that I wanted to get into, but it was definitely the first all along. And I think uh, honestly before I did not know what kind of school which school is. It was only when I started watching all these videos, when I started listening to all these people talk about the schools that they're in, what these schools focus on. I think it's then that I started inclining a little bit towards UPenn. And specifically, I remember that I watched the white coat ceremony for you. I mean, I watch a lot of videos, so I'll be very honest. I watched the white coat ceremony for class of, I don't even know what class, but I think class of 2027. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think whatever the dean spoke, during that ceremony, and everybody, I think that spoke to me on a whole different level. Like I was like, okay, this is where I want to be, and so I think it was that particular moment for me that I was like, UPenn's my dream school. But because it was so competitive, I did not honestly expect to get in my first cycle. I'll be very honest. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to try my best. We'll see what happens. But luckily, it worked out. So
Yeah, and we're happy for you. So let's start from the
yeah,
beginning on like trying to get to understand, how you went through your CAPIT application, the best tips and tricks that worked for you. And then we'll move ahead with supplemental application, your interview prep, and your bench prep, just so we kind of had a whole
absolutely.
rounded experience understanding the process. And for those who are joining as well,
Yeah.
please feel free to ask your questions and then we'll address them at the end of the session. So, how did you approach your CAPIT application? Did you have a strategy in mind before you started?
Honestly, yes and no. No, in the sense that this entire journey is so long and so overwhelming. I intentionally gave my exam in July of 2024 because I wanted to be extra prepared before my application. I did not want to rush anything. And so I was like, if it takes me a little bit longer, that's okay. I do not want to, do anything incomplete. So intentionally, I gave me my exam in July 2024. I just knew that because there's so much information out there, it can also be overwhelming. So for me, it used to get very overwhelming. I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. So
Yeah.
I think one trick that really worked for me was I would only focus on the next step and I'll be like, we'll get to the other one when we get to it. And I know it's easier said than done, but so when I gave my NBD, when I passed, I think my next focus was the TOEFL. Uh, I gave TOEFL twice. When I gave TOEFL first, my score was 111. I
Mm-hmm.
was not happy with my score. I expected to get more. To be honest, I gave it again. The first time that I gave it, I literally did not prepare for it. The second time that I gave, I was like, maybe I studied for like 3 days, but I find it so hard to study for like English exams. It's just a personal block that I have. And then I got 114. I was still not very happy with my score, but I was like, okay, okay, you cannot waste like more than 2 months now just giving TOEFL. So that was it. That I sort of like segregated my entire journey into blocks. And then my next step was SOP. I gave myself about 2 months to write my SOP, but obviously things don't go as you plan them. I took 4 months to write my SOP. And so I took everything very, I would say, step by step.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did a lot of research. I would be lying if I say that this just, I just magically wrote my SOP. I watched a lot of videos. I downloaded a lot of sample SOPs. I tried to understand the kind of format, what is needed in an LOR, what is a good LOR. So I would say that was my first step, just researching about what is considered good and what is not. So I think I started from there and then I went along.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one of the hardest, just with understanding where to start from. And how did you like make your personal statement stand out? Any type of
Good
angle that you
question.
preferred or
Very
you
good
started?
question. Very good question. Because I think the most challenging part for me was my personal statement. At the end of it, I basically watched videos, like I said, but then I took a blank sheet of paper. That's literally what I did. And I wrote down pivots in my life. And by pivots, I mean like experiences that shaped me,
Mm-hmm.
anything that stood out, that moved me to the point that I wanted to pursue dentistry.
Yeah.
Anything that solidified my commitment to it. I literally wrote all those down and I wrote a one liner ahead of those experiences. And what I realized is that one, personally for me, I'm talking about my specific case because I think nobody knows you like you know yourself.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that tied all of my experiences together was my communication skills and my emotional intelligence. And those are the two strengths that I highlighted throughout my application because I think those were important to me. And also because the kind of experiences that I had in my life, it sort of made me the kind of person I am today. So
Yeah.
I think that's a very good start. If you're someone who still has to start writing the SOP, take a sheet of paper, write down your pivots, and then find a way to sort of connect them in the form of a story. Your personal statement should reflect not just what you've done, but what has that taught you and what kind of a person are you?
Yeah.
I think more than anything else. So, yeah.
Okay. And did you specify anything differently between your CV and your SOP, or did you, kind of
Absolutely.
mention things from your CV into your SOP as well?
I did not mention anything from my CV on my SOP.
Okay.
Maybe I would say two experiences that stood out for me. One was working with a US dentist because that was a big reason for my why
Yeah.
US, that, and then a little bit of my volunteer experience that also shaped me as a person.
Mm.
And I went to boarding school when I was like 4 years old, and that's like a major, major part of my life. So I talked about that too. So I think my SOP was more about personal experiences than about
Okay.
achievements or like,
Okay.
dental related stuff.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, I think that gives a very good idea for those who are planning to write their SOP as
Yes.
well, and definitely keeping your CV different from not mentioning the
Yes.
same thing into your SOP. So,
Yeah.
how did you start? Capit application is different, right? You gotta like
Yes.
put a lot of things up there, more explanatory
Yes.
and descriptive, than just your CV or your SOP.
Yes.
So, how did you go about that? What key tips you could give? Or what did you use when you were filling out your CAPIT application?
So honestly, I had everything ready. I had my SOP, I had my LORs, and then Capit opened, and I had not used the portal at all. And I'm like, what's this? Like, I expected
Yeah,
it to be slightly different in my head. I'll be very honest. And I was like, what's this? Like, what do I do? What do I do? It took me at least like, I would say a good 7 to 10 days to just
yeah,
like familiarize myself with the software and whatever portal it was. And so I think if you can, I don't know if that works, but if you can make an account and sort of familiarize yourself with that, it will save you a lot of time.
yeah,
Even though I had stuff ready for me, just being able to navigate the whole portal, that took a while. And then I think what helped me again was videos. I sort of saw a couple of videos to like do what and then do what. And then, but I think when I talk about how to fill in information, because there's very limited space for you to describe your
yeah,
experiences. And I think that's the challenge because there's so much everyone wants to say, right?
yeah,
But I think I had to learn the art of brevity. I really did. And I'm someone who talks a lot. I'm someone who writes a lot. So for me to literally write what I had to say in a couple of words where there could be impact, that was also a challenge. But I think it just comes with practice. And then also, there's so many online resources that are available for free. I did not use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT only for, I would say, literally for, when you're writing your CV, you have
yeah,
to write like those 3 3 4 4 this thing. That's it.
yeah.
That's all I use because more or less that's essentially kind of the same for
Personalized.
everyone or
Yeah,
not same. So
yeah,
like, so yeah, like there's no, I don't think there's anything wrong in using AI if you actually use it and if it's actually your thoughts and opinions and you're just kind of refining them. So I think, yeah, that's what I did. But yeah, learning the art of brevity.
yeah. So would you say that, first of all, what I'm getting is write them down on bullet points when you're trying
Yes.
to write up your CAPIT application and try to be more specific. Would you want to like generally explain your experience in that section, or would you pinpoint a particular experience from that, you know?
So I think how it works on Capit is that it's already sort of divided into general topics already. So
Yeah,
like they let you like dental related experience and then volunteer experience. So they kind of have an umbrella already.
yeah,
I think then it comes to being more specific. That's what my
yeah,
opinion is. Because your CV is the only place where you can tell them what you've done. You
yeah,
know, and I would say don't do that in your SOP because your SOP should be like a peek into who you are as a person, and your CV should be your academics and your volunteers and your non-volunteer experience and all of that. So I think yeah, I would say be specific while you're mentioning those experiences because that counts.
Yeah.
Because you've done the work, right? So it's
Yeah.
important to highlight it, but
Mhm.
it's also important to highlight in a way that I would say portrays your strengths. I think that's very, very important.
True. And how did you work on your CV? Was it descriptive as well, or just like the main headlines of, where to, what happened, when, and stuff like just categorizing your achievements?
No, it was descriptive for sure. But
Okay.
I had to deliberately keep the description only to 2 points because then there's a limit on how
Yeah.
long your CV can be. So
Yeah.
mine was four pages max, and I had to really work down to like sort of cut it to four. But I think honestly, four is ideal. It could be five if you have a lot of experience. I feel like I am in the middle. I'm not someone who has a lot of experience, and I'm not someone who's a fresh graduate. So
Yeah.
for me, it was not that much of a challenge. But if you're someone who has a lot of experience, then it's okay to have five. But anything more than five, I don't think is recommended. But yeah.
Okay. And your experiences so far, you shared that you've done some volunteer work and
Mhm.
have some work experience back in US and back in Canada also, as I believe, and India,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So, did you
yes.
do anything besides being more hands-on, any academic setting experiences or research experiences?
No, I
Okay.
did not have any research experiences, and I think I'm speaking to everyone who says you cannot get in without research experience. It is very good to have any research experience, and I think that shows how committed you are not just to dentistry but to ongoing learning. And I would have loved to have research because I'm actually very looking forward to it in the future. It just so happened that I did not get the right opportunity to have that. And I did not want to show it just to show it. Everything that I put on my profile was authentic and that I knew that I could talk about very confidently, fast about it. So I think because in all these groups and all, you hear so much that, oh, if you don't have this, then this will not work out for you. I do agree that because if you have research, schools do prefer that. I personally think that. But if you don't, it's not to say that you cannot get in. I did not have any research experience. I did not do anything after my BDS. I just had work experience, and that's about it.
Okay. That's good to know. And I think we did have a couple of questions. That's why we addressed it as well in here. So finally, regarding the letter of recommendations, right? So like, what advice would you give to applicants on choosing the right evaluators?
That's a very good question again. So I think I don't exactly remember for it's different for a lot of schools, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the standard guideline that I followed, I took a total of four letters of recommendation. One had to come from my dean, so there's not much play that I could do there. One had to come from my professor from my dental school. So those two were kind of like fixed. The
Mm-hmm.
ones that are actually variable are the ones that you get from your employers, the one in the US/Canada, or the one, I mean, the most recent volunteer experience that you had. So I took four of them. I also took an LOR from the dentist that I worked with in India.
Okay.
So I actually took a roll of five LORs, yeah. But I think the number one tip is first, I think you should know what a good LOR is. And by a good LOR, I don't mean that someone who can just write for you that, she did this, she did this, she did this. Again, your LOR should also echo the same strengths that you're trying to highlight through your entire application. Your recommender should also be able to verify that information that this person is has good interpersonal communication skills. This person has good teamwork, is able to work in a group, all of those things. Um, and I think how to choose the right evaluators is very subjective because everybody can be applying from different parts of the world. So I don't think I can essentially comment on that, but I think your evaluator should know you for at least more than a year. That was my main criteria that if any I did actually shadow in a US dental clinic for about 2 weeks just because I don't know, I was like I still want to. I didn't have anything US related on my profile and I was like, okay, I'll just go shadow someone in the US. And I was like, should So I was split between taking an LOR from them or my actual employer, and then it was a no-brainer because someone I work with for 2 weeks does not know me as much as someone who I worked with for a whole year.
Yeah.
So that's how I decided, but obviously it can be case specific, and you can decide what works best for you.
Yeah. And regarding UPenn in specific, what type of LORs do they want from their candidates?
So three, and UPenn. So if you read the instructions, that's another thing that I did very, very diligently. I have a whole notebook. Okay, it's very funny, but I have a whole notebook that I literally wrote down every requirement. UPenn needs one LOR from your dean, one from the professor, and one from a practicing dentist in US or Canada. That's the three LORs they need, but they're very, very specific about their criteria in the sense that the LOR has to be on an official letterhead and it has to be hand signed. So those are the two things. I know someone who applied without the hand signature, and then it adds delay to your profile. So I would say, sorry, application, not profile. When you're applying, make sure that all your requirements, you're already fulfilling those so that you don't run into any unforeseen delays because of
Yeah.
a missed signature here and there. So those are the three that pen needs. Yeah.
Okay. So now once you've finally submitted your CAPIT and your next step is getting the UPenn supplemental applications, right? So this is where applicants really have to like dig in deeper to explain
Yes.
themselves and their profile. So
Yes.
how did you
Yes.
go about the UPenn supplemental questions? Were they more personal, goal oriented, or were they more experience based?
Okay. So I will say this. If a college or a university is giving you a supplemental, it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And if you really sort of take your time with it, you can have it work in your favor. That's what I believe. I understand that by the time that the supplemental comes in, you're so done with applications. You're
Yeah.
like, not again, please. That was me. But I knew that, this is the only shot that I have. I'll be very honest. I was like, okay, so no. I took a lot of time with the pen supplemental, and with any supplemental, pen supplemental is also very, it's a little bit of everything. So any university that's asking you for a supplemental will ask you why us. That's
Yeah.
like a standard question that you'll find anywhere. So definitely prepare yourself for that. I think that that's basically like a mini SOP for why pen, or why any like why UIC, why UCLA, if
Yeah.
they have a supplemental. um I think that, and then how to how to kind of make those answers more specific to your experiences and your whatever you're
Yeah.
trying to give to the admissions team is honestly just research. Like, go to their website, go to their socials, go to their Instagram. What are they doing, what are they involved in? A lot of schools have journals that they publish every month. Read those. I basically did all of that, and then I sort of sat down and I was like, okay, um, but I know for a fact that if a school has a supplemental, there's a reason. They want to know more about you, and it's basically their way of filtering out candidates. That's what I believe. So
Okay. And
please
how
take your
does
supplemental seriously.
Yes, definitely. And how does a supplemental application look like? How many questions do you have? Do you have any documents to upload up there?
That's very school
Okay.
specific. So for example, for Loma Linda, the supplemental questions are like maybe two or three. For some colleges, they would want to have your CV uploaded, or you can also upload an additional letter of recommendation. For Penn, it is usually about 4 to 5 questions, and for UCSF as well. No, sorry, for
Okay.
USC also 3 to 4 questions. So, like, anywhere between, I would say, on the upper range, 5 to 6 questions, and then any additional documentation that they might need from your end.
Okay. So finally, we've covering step by step, and I think everyone's kind of enjoying the step-by-step way of answering these questions.
Mhm.
So after a couple of months, right, you're done with the supplemental applications, you're waiting, you're refreshing your inbox every day, and it's the interview invite that shows up. So let's talk
Yeah.
about that day. What happened? when you saw that? And what was like, how did it go? The email, what did it say, and how did you prep from there?
Okay, so I applied very early on. That's another thing that I would recommend everyone to really, really take seriously. If there's one thing that I took away from all the videos that I watched, it was like I auto-registered apply early in my head, so much so that I was so hard on myself because I was like, okay, it's opening March 7. I have to get everything done by like 17th and I have to apply. Things don't work according to how you plan, but you still need to plan, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up applying first week of April because figuring out capid, uploading everything, my recommenders had to upload the LORs. That took a little bit of time. So I applied first week of April. I think I was late, but I was still fairly early compared to like the whole application cycle. I applied, I think 8th of April was when I submitted my supplemental for Penn. And I think end of April, as early as end of April, is when we received our first batch of interview invites. So that's my whole point of sharing these dates specifically is that schools that are on a rolling basis, please apply early. You
Yeah.
have a way more chance of your profile getting, sorry, I keep saying profile, your application getting looked at
Yeah.
if you apply early because, a lot of people have not applied then.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
and then for me, I think the day that I actually got the interview invite, I was literally, it was like a super mundane day. I'm getting ready for work and then I just check my email and I'm like, oh my God. And I could not stop screaming for, I would say at least 15-20 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't, like, it was such a surreal moment for me, especially because I received a rejection before, like, literally like 4 or 5 days before, and I was completely thrown off. I received a rejection from UAB because I did not, so UAB's website did not specifically say that they don't accept international students. And by international students, I mean if you're on a B1, B2.
Okay.
Uh, like I was on a B1, B2, and I did not have a green card or a US citizenship. And so I applied to a lot of schools.
Mm-hmm.
But in the email that they sent us, they specified that you do not meet the residency requirements. And
Mm.
so I was really heartbroken because,
Yeah.
first cycle, first rejection, and I'm like, oh my God. So
Yeah.
Penn's interview invite sort of came as like a breath of fresh air for me because, I was like, oh my God, yay. And it was one of my dream schools. And then ever since that day to the day of my interview, I literally kept preparing for the interview. Yeah, so
Yeah. And
that
how
day
much
was
time did
something.
they give you for your between you getting the interview invite to the day of your interview?
So it actually really depends because it depends on which batch you've received the interview invite in.
Okay.
But I think typically, and you get to choose your own dates as well based on the availability that each school has. But I think if I remember my time, I had about 3 weeks for sure to prepare.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And how does the interview day look like? Is it virtual? Did you have to be in person? How
Yes,
many
Penn
days was
interviews
it
are virtual.
for? Okay.
So, Penn's interview was virtual. It started at 5 a.m. for me because I was in Pacific times, but I think
Okay.
it starts at like standard 8 a.m. And it goes on the whole day. So
Okay.
it's a good 8 hours, but it's not that you're giving interviews for 8 hours. It's just that
Okay.
there's a lot of like sessions in between,
Okay.
like financial aid sessions and all of those sessions combined, but
Okay.
your actual interviews are only for like 30 minutes each,
Okay.
depending on who your interview is, of
Okay.
course.
And is that interview like a panel interview, or is it that you just have one interview with one person from the
It's a
administration?
one-on-one. It's a
Okay.
one-on-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. And what kind of questions were you expecting, and what kind of questions came up on that day for you?
I was expecting anything. I literally had printed out like I think at least like 1,000 questions that I went over before because I was like, I have to make this happen. So I was over prepared, I'll be very honest. And I'm someone who's very candid as a person. So if I can, like, if you talk to me,
Yeah.
I really want to talk. I want to get to know you. But I think that didn't work in my favor because when I was practicing questions, I was like, this is giving me a format and I don't need a
Yeah.
format. Like, I want to be able to be myself. So I struggled with actually preparing for the interview because I was like, I want to be as candid as possible. But when
Yeah.
I read the questions, I also read a book, by the way.
Okay.
Before my interview. There's a book that's it's for how to get accepted at a medical school, but it has a lot of questions. It
Yeah.
has a lot of answers, and that book is amazing. I have that in my phone. I can share it with whoever wants it later, but I read a whole book before my interview. So I feel like I really, really over prepared myself for the interview. That when the interview day actually came, I was super nervous because I was like, I mean, I was under the pressure to be myself and not follow like a random
Yeah.
script, because I wanted to, at the end of the day, be able to show them who I am as a person. So I think I was very nervous, but it also depends on your interviewers. My interviewers were super sweet. I think it was so conversational, and I think my personality really came out because they make you so comfortable. They want to know you as a person. They show interests in what you've done.
Okay.
So my interview day was super chill. I think after my interview, I was very happy with how my
Okay.
interview went. So
So were
yeah.
your questions more personal based or were they very dental focused or ethically focused?
The questions that I was asked at least were a lot from my supplemental.
Okay.
A
Okay.
lot of my questions were directly from my supplemental application. So
Okay.
that's again to say that please pay a lot of attention to your supplementals.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're a little bit personal because you're sharing your life experiences
Yeah.
and your story. So there's always a little bit of that. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So, well, we're done with the interview day, and then comes the part that, worries a lot of people. So, did you have bench for UPenn?
no, Penn
Okay.
does not have a bench.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And but you must have prepared it because you're preparing for a lot of
Yes.
other applications as well, different schools.
Yes.
So, how did you prepare for that and, in particular?
So I actually took some time off work, and because I was in India, I just extended my stay a little bit and I prepared for my bench test here in India. I did I did a course with one academy in India, and then also trained with my mentor, who was the dentist that I worked with. He was kind enough to like sort of sit with me, teach me everything.
Okay.
So I spent about 2 months in India just preparing for my bench exam, and then when I went to Canada, I did like a home setup so that I could practice. And then I had an invite from Loma Linda, and I did prepare for the bench at home because I sort of thought that I do have the basic idea. And then, yeah, I prepared for that at home for the bench.
Okay. Anything else you want to share that is specific to you, Ben? Things that not many, or it's not put up on the website that much, or you just get to know because you're getting that orientation, or any kind of information that you think, I wish people knew this without being in this place
I
that.
think if I can say one thing for Penn, it's that they put everything on their website.
Okay.
Everything. If
Okay.
you read Penn's website, they have so much so specified that we will prefer candidates who have strong communication skills in your
Okay.
interview. They are very specific. And while we're talking about Penn, I think recently they've changed the residency requirements. Again, please double check.
Okay.
But this is what I know most recently. They've changed the residency requirements to, I think, US citizens and green card holders only, which is, yeah. So
Yeah.
double check that. But I think Penn is one school that, at least so far in my experience, I will obviously find out more and know more once I am in school. But
Yeah.
so far, if I just talk about the application process, I think Penn is one school that they literally put everything on their website. They're as transparent as I would have liked a school to be,
Yeah. So
So
would that
yeah.
mean you're the only, like your batch would be the only one that's getting student visas, putting forward for
I
students?
think so, if that's what it means. Like, honestly, someone just shared a screenshot in the group a couple of days ago, and then I went on the website to double check if
Okay.
that information is true. So the last time that I checked, it was still that, but obviously, please do your due diligence and check. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So how does the application, no, your classroom cohort look like? How many students are you all together? And believe now it's like you're pretty much with different visa, um,
Yes.
cohort of
Yeah.
students in the group.
So obviously, I don't exactly know the exact, I would say, percentage of where, who's from, or what visa they're on, because we've not been
Yeah.
officially introduced, and I've not met any of my classmates in
Okay.
person
Okay.
yet. But I think there's 30 of us.
Okay. So do they
Yeah,
take 30
for sure.
students every year or does it vary?
It varies. I think they
Okay.
took 36 last year, but they did take 30 this year, and I think they're planning to further reduce it from what I understand and hear. But yeah.
Okay. So, of course, this whole thing is like beyond the applications and tests, the journey is like emotionally tough too. So let's talk about that side of mental challenges, minds building up that mindset to not give up and things like that. So, what were some of your most or your biggest challenges during this entire process, and what would your advice be for those people who are going through such tough times?
First of all, acknowledgement, I think that it is tough. I think it's a very overwhelming journey. I've had so many breakdowns. I used to cry for no reason. And I would be like, nothing's happening, like you put in so much hard work, and obviously, I think the kind of joy that I've experienced with this entire journey, I feel and wish that everybody gets to experience it because it's quite something, to be honest. But I think being able to stay centered and focused,
Yeah.
and that doesn't come easy because you have to constantly remind yourself why you're doing this. And I think being able to stay positive as well, find something that you can channel your energy in. That's what worked for me. For me, it was the gym. I would just, like, every time I'd feel lost, I would just go out, take all my frustration out, and then I would feel better. Not that it would fix anything, but I just sort of felt a little bit more in control. And I think it's also telling yourself that you've done your bit. The
Yeah.
rest is just for the grander scheme of things to align for you, and it will.
Yeah.
Believe me, it will, because
Yeah.
I think if you're working hard, it will pay you back. It
Yeah.
might not be just right away, but eventually, because I think hard work always pays off. And keep going, like literally keep going. I know there are days that you feel like so overwhelmed by just giving exams, spending all this money on applications, and then more money on this, and then more money on that, and then just even emotionally, I think, I know that I've said no to so many dinners and friends and gatherings because I was like, no, I need to focus on this little thing right now in my life. I have a goal. I moved to Canada, I think 2.5 years ago, and I don't think the day that I moved to Canada, I had a goal in mind, and I don't think I relaxed or like chilled for a bit. And so I think I was rewarded, and I'm grateful for that. And please know that whoever is on this journey, you will too.
Yeah.
Please keep going. And there's a lot of us in the same field. And another thing that I would like to also point out is that I reached out to so many current students while I was on my journey, and everybody was so helpful. Not all of them would have replied, but some of them did reply, and they really, really helped me out. I had my SOP reviewed by them, and some people really, really came forward. And I think as a community, that says a lot about,
Yeah.
just international dentists. We're always willing to help each other out. So please don't give up and know that it's overwhelming, but please find whatever works for you to channelize whatever emotions you're feeling in that moment, and you will get past it.
Yeah.
And I know the weight game is something that even I had to really make peace with, because I think that's the toughest time. I really lost it. I'll be very honest. I had to literally double down on my gym sessions and be like, it's not in your control. Like,
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just find something that works for you. It doesn't have to be the gym. It could be art. It could be anything that, sort of is an outlet for you,
Yeah.
for your energy.
Yeah, that's true. And thank you for being so open about it because, mental health is quite important when you're doing such
Yeah,
decisions in your life every day and trying to meet
absolutely.
those goals that you want for yourself and to provide for your life, your family, or your future goals. And I think a lot of
True.
people who have joined us today are somebody who are applying next year or thinking about applying and who have probably applied and you're in that weight game right now and, trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to do. So I'm hoping that this session really helped you all and make yourself comfortable with yourself and challenges that you go through and building up that mindset that of never giving up. So I think
True.
we've kind of come towards the end of sessions trying to understand your process and your journey. So I would love to open the floor for certain questions that we have on the chat box. And if
Sure.
anyone is also wanting to be open, you can turn on your videos, turn on your audios, and feel free to raise your hand and ask your questions forward. So I'll begin with some of them on the chat box. So let's see. Did you take ADAT exams for
I
your?
did not.
Okay. And do you recommend virtual dental observership who cannot
Virtual.
be in person at a clinic?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, apparently it's a thing.
Okay.
Um, so I would say virtual dental observership is something, but I don't see how much it can help you besides you being in
Yeah,
person and
because
hands-on.
dentistry is so hands-on and then
Yeah.
yeah,
But if at all you think that's the best thing that you can do in the situation you are, I think that's still the only choice for you. So then just go for it.
yeah.
Make something, take something out of that
Out
experience.
of it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Anything that you think adds value to who
exactly.
you are currently
Yeah.
is valid. Go
Because
ahead and do it.
everybody will be doing something or the other, but the end of the day, you want to see was that experience good enough for you? Did you get something out
Yeah,
of it? And if you can
exactly.
explain that to on your interview day or on your application day, I think that's the best experience that you could ask for. Okay, we
100%
have one
agree.
hand raised up. Manali, you want to unmute yourself and ask away?
Yeah, thank you so much for this detailed session. I actually wanted to follow up on the shadowing question. I try to reach out clinics via email, but I'm just wondering, has any approach helped you guys to, because I didn't get any reply to my emails about shadowing. So I was just wondering, is there any other approach I can use to like would to get an opportunity to shadow at a clinic?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. Dr. Kaur, do
Yes.
you want to put your thoughts?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Manali. I think I understand where you're coming from because I did the same. I cold emailed a lot of clinics and I did not hear back anything. And then I sort of also dropped my resumes at a couple of clinics in right across the border. So I live right at the border in Canada, and then the border is like literally 15 minutes away from me. So it sort of didn't seem like a bad idea to kind of just find one there, but I had no luck. I'll be very honest. So then I had to contact a friend of a friend who knew someone who had a clinic. And so I got that opportunity through them. So, it's not a bad idea to use your contacts because I think networking is a very important skill. I'm learning to realize how important networking is in dentistry and just generally, it's a life skill, to be honest. And so please don't shy away from using any contacts that you think you might have if that helps you secure an opportunity that will add value to your current experience. But I do realize that cold emailing sometimes does not get you a response right away. So I think if you're someone who's on a time crunch, use your contacts, reach out. I had to travel to Boston for this opportunity, even though I was on the West Coast. So I did it because that was my only option at that time. So use what you can, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
I just want to elaborate a little bit more on this question because I'm thinking a lot of them are feeling the same thing. Besides cold emailing or cold calling or even dropping in your resume in person, another thing that I think is really helpful is if you're already located in the US, you know where you're based or you know for how long you're in that place you're staying. You should probably check into websites like Eventbrite or probably Instagram where if there's a dental society that is around that area you're staying, because a lot of dentists are a part of some member program, like it could be a state
Yes.
membership association or a local county related association that they're a part of, and these associations would have CE events happening or certain conferences that happen, and if you're able to just put some dollars in there and go in person,
Yeah.
you're going to meet dentists who are working in the area you are staying. And I would say
Yes.
that that is the best place for you to network. And kind of like give your short interview pitch right there and be like,
Yeah.
do you
Put
think,
yourself out there.
yeah, and just meet those
Yeah.
dentists and be like, I'm here for a couple of days, and I know you're a dentist working in this practice. Or maybe, before you meet them, kind of know what their name is, Google a little bit, find out what their clinic is, how far is it from your house, and if you think it's something that you can meet with the commute, then go approach them. Just be like, I know you're working at this office. I've heard so much about you. Patients really like you, and I wanna have the opportunity to shadow you, or that's if you're doing shadowing, or if you want to just jump right in and be like, can I get the dental assistant job, depending on your visa situations and everything, then
Yeah.
go for it. And if they would, kind of like they don't know you yet, so just I would say start off by saying that, can I shadow you for a couple of days? And be
Yeah.
specific. Like, don't just be like randomly, can I just shadow? You could give them proper dates, because you're a dentist. Dentists like to be organized. They want information up
Yes.
right front, not like the dentist
100%.
has to figure out your life for you. So, just be pretty clear that I'm available from this date to this date. Would that be something that's open for you? Can I come on those days? If the dentist is not available, then ask for them what days are they flexible on that you can show up. And if you get that, maybe that's the time when you can kind of learn how to take x-rays, learn how to do sterilization in the dental offices, learn how the setting is for the dental treatments, learn how they do insurance, how they talk to patients, and go from there. Learn step by step before jumping right in for a dental assisting job. And when you feel ready, and if you think that dental office is willing to give you an opening, then jump right in for that job. So I think that is one of things that worked out for me, and I would say that try to use networking. It's definitely an important skill to
Yeah.
have.
And
Yeah.
I think another thing that this entire journey has really taught me is just reach out. You have
Yeah.
nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Just reach out. I have reached out to so many people. I don't even think half of them replied, but I reached out anyways. So reach out. You have nothing to lose. I know sometimes we have our own inhibitions as to like, oh, what am I gonna say? But if you don't ask, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Reach out, and I think something will come along.
Yeah, I think generally just be humble, be honest at the situation you are at, and show them that you're willing to learn, Don't
Exactly.
give them
Yeah.
any kind of vibe that you're a tough person to deal with. And, if
Yeah.
they feel like they have to spend a lot of time teaching you little things, no dentist would want to do that when they're having patients all
Yeah.
day. So,
Exactly.
kind of be flexible with things. Don't be like, this is how I wanted things to be, and, put it
Yeah.
forward to them. You have to be flexible
Yeah.
with what thing, because everything like that, life is like that in the US,
Yeah.
honestly, to put
True.
it out there. Okay. So we have next question. Could you please share resources that you use for INBD prep?
Okay, so for IMBD prep, my number one resource was bootcamp, as is with mostly everybody who prepares for it. But in addition to the bootcamp, I also did a lot of release questions. And then there's this particular Telegram group on Telegram. What am I saying? There's a particular group on Telegram. They post a lot of like these review sheets. I don't know. I think Dr. Ryan does it himself. I'm not sure, honestly. Like this information is not absolutely correct, but please check the group yourself. They're like these one-page sheets that are sort of quick to review in the end. I use that too, and I think that really helped. So yeah, I think my solid preparation was INBD bootcamp. I did also overgo booster notes, and then I did remembered questions, and then I did those review sheets in the end. That's pretty much it.
Okay. So I think we've kind of answered most of the questions, and some of the questions are pretty um, asking about the kind of resources you used for like interview questions. You said that you have a book. So I would love that if you could share that in our Dental Student Society WhatsApp group. That way everyone is able to use them
Sure,
and refer
sure.
to those books. Let me see. So one more question is, what do you recommend for a person who had a month of dentist experience back in home country and working as a hygienist currently, now wants to apply for dental school admission? What would you suggest to show the school that I am the best fit to the school? Any suggestions to improve the profile? So I would ask one question back to you. Is this your first cycle, or have you applied before? Just so we can understand how, because you're asking how you want to improve your profile. If you could just respond to that, that would be really helpful. Okay, so you said that you have applied before. Do you want to like go ahead with this question, Dr. Kaur?
Honestly, if you're a practicing hygienist in the US, I'm not sure if that information is correct, but please correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a practicing hygienist in the US, you already have a lot of strength in your profile because you're directly involved in patient care in the US. You understand the demographic, you talk to patients on a daily basis, you know what patient communication is, you know what treatment planning is. You're already a team player with a dentist in a clinic. Please mention all those things. Please use all those things to your um, benefit because I think those are your greatest strengths in the current role that you are at. And to answer how can you improve your profile, I think there's always something that anybody can do, no matter how experienced they are. There's always something or the other happening locally around you. Like for me, when I was in Vancouver, there were a lot of conferences happening through my work. I used to work for 123 Dentist, which is a corporate dental group in Canada. So they always had these conferences or these events. So just go to those events, go to these conferences. I think there's a lot that you can learn. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of it is also about how you portray what you're doing. So I think that also matters. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
So I think, yeah, I definitely agree with Dr. Kaur, and I think we would have a lot of follow-up questions because we're kind of giving a general answer to your question, honestly. So another question is having a month of dentist experience would be a drawback. I think any number of days, if it could be months or years, if it's an
Counts.
experience, so just give
Yeah,
that value because you're spending your time on it, right? So
yeah.
of course, if you could do it for longer, why not do it? But I would say don't feel like anything that you did, if it's 1 day or 2 day observership, like I said earlier, if try to learn something you didn't know about. Like whenever you get certain experiences like these, being in a dental clinic, being at a conference or something, try to go to a place or a room where you don't know anything. I think
Yeah.
the best advice I got is walking into a room where you don't know anything. That takes courage because if
Yeah.
you are in a room where you know everything, then why are you there in the first place?
You're not growing. Yeah,
Exactly. So try to be comfortable being in a place where you don't know anything. Try to and I think
absolutely.
yeah, so I feel like we have come to the end of the session. Thank you everyone for joining, and feel free to ask your questions on our WhatsApp group. If there's anything, I'm sure Dr. Kaur is also a part of it. She will help out, and you can also watch our YouTube videos on our YouTube channel, Dental Student Society. There are a lot of videos out there based on different schools and different programs, different kind of getting you more in-depth information about how it was for them to apply in that school. And I hope that it's really helpful to you all, and all the very best. And Dr. Kaur, thank you so much. I think
Thanks to
along with
you.
you, we are all excited for your new journey.
Oh,
And I'm hoping that we get to talk to you again and, see you on the
absolutely.
other side as a practice.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for listening to us talk and interact. I hope each one of you who's working hard gets into school and is same way, sharing their experience one day. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help you in whatever capacity that I can. You can reach out to me on my Instagram page or in the group, like Dr. Asta mentioned. And thank you for your time. And thank you, Dr. Asta, for just giving
Yes.
me this opportunity to share my experience.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
and we are happy to have you as well. All right, bye
Thank
everybody.
you. Take care. Bye bye.